Well, a more flexible tax regime for housing developers. Budget 2024 announced they can claw back additional buyer stamp duties or ABSD if they sell just 90% of the units they build within 5 years of land acquisition, of course. Now, under the old rules, developers needed to clear all units to enjoy that clawback. Now, how will this impact developers and the property market?
And we have with us Nicholas Mark, Chief Research Officer at prop and tech firm that's Mogul.sg, and Justin Quek, now she's Chief Executive Officer at OrangeTee and Thai. Thanks so much for coming on and joining us this evening, gentlemen. I want to start with you, Mr. Mark.
Yes.
Typically, how significant is the ABSD clawback for developers? Now, the whole point of these new moves is to offer you flexibility. But how much of the profit does this actually make for developers?
Well, actually, it doesn't make additional profit for developers. It may provide a bit of relief, but I think developers would still wish to have either lower taxes or a longer runway. Like, for example, right now, it's a one-size-fits-all. It's a 5-year deadline, regardless of the size of the development project, whether it's 200 units or 1,000 units project, they must still sell out within 5 years. And I think the other thing is that because land costs make up almost 55% to 65% of the total development costs, and with the ABSD of 25% to 35% payable, if the developers could not sell, even if they left just 5%, and they have to pay anything between 19% to 29% of the cost of the land to the government as ABSD, it could potentially wipe out the entire project profit.
It's interesting, but with this budget announcement, the fact that they don't have to sell all those units to get the clawback, will there be changes to the way developers plan and even acquire the land for development?
Well, I think that whether or not how much a developer will bid for the land will also depend on the market condition at that point in time, and also their outlook, because they will take about 1.5 to 2 years before they launch the project. So typically, the developers are not going to rely on this concession to think that, oh, I'm going to leave that 5% at the end, because at the end of the day, if let's say they are left with 5% and you only have 6 months left to the deadline, it is more prudent for them to cut prices and sell off that last 5% than to pay the ABSD.
And Mr. Quek, you agree as well?
Yes, absolutely. I think these changes most importantly signify the government's stance in wanting to listen to the developers. After all, the building and construction is a very big industry in Singapore. And also we have to keep in mind that at the end of the day, whatever costs are incurred from the development side as a supply might actually end up being eventually passed on to the customer, whether it's financially or it could be time costs and many other costs associated as well. So I think this really is quite a nice gesture to let the developers know that they are listening. In terms of the significance of the impact, I would say that it's marginal, to be honest. Because if you're talking about, it's a broad stroke kind of strategy, right, to try to give a bit more leeway, flexibility to the developers. But truth be told, being broad stroke as well, it doesn't quite discern, like I think what Nicholas was saying as well, between large projects, small projects. If you have, say, 1% of a 1,000 unit development left versus 1% of a 50 unit development, it really makes a lot of difference. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Quek, if I could at this point sum up what both of you have said, you recognize that this is the government listening to the concerns of developers, but both of you have suggested in your ways that it's a concession, it's broad stroke, but it is not significant enough to make a huge difference to the difficulties that developers face. Now, obviously, the government would like to please as many parties as it is reasonable to do so. But something clearly must be holding them back and giving even more concessions to developers. What might those be? Both of you could answer that. Let's start with Mr. Mark and then yourself, Mr. Quek.
Well, I think that for the longest time, the government has not actually given any concession during budget announcement for the property market. So this time round, if you were to read between the lines, I think that the government is recognizing that the property market could be facing some headwinds going ahead. So perhaps the government is keeping some of the other assistance in the pocket first, and as and when somewhere down the road is required, then they will take it out.
So it's saving keeping some gunpowder dry, as it were.
Precisely.
Mr. Quek?
I think it's like what Nicholas said as well. If you realize most of the policies that have been issued over the past few years have always been more to tighten supply and actually impose a little bit more on the developers. So that's why I said it is a significant signal this time round that the government is actually putting in some effort to look at things from the supply side of the situation. Because most of the policies, if you realize, have always been biased towards the market, as in the demand, the people, which is rightfully so. The government should look after the people. But I think also pursuant to what Nicholas is saying, I think they do see potential headwinds. And the development industry in Singapore, like I said, is a huge one. It employs many verticals, it contributes a lot to our employment sector, our GDP and all that as well. So by giving them this bit of flexibility as well, I think the government definitely has interest in wanting to keep this a sustainable business for them.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, Mr. Ma, I also have to ask about the market, and the people buying these properties. When it was 100%, there was pressure, you have to admit, for developers to clear all their stock. And there was some benefit to the market, the trickle-down effect in terms of the discounts. Do you see that still continuing?
Yes, most likely. Because every year, about 2 or 3 times a year, some newspapers will start compiling a list of projects that is nearing the 5-year deadline and the number of units that still are available for sale. And many developers dread to have their project mentioned in this list. But I think this is still going to continue this year. We will still see some projects that's nearing the 5-year deadline. They will still have unsold units. But in the past, developers always manage almost, I'll say, 99% of the projects manage to finish selling all their units before the end of the 5-year deadline, because the penalty for not selling all the projects is just too punitive. So they will cut prices, they will give incentives, they will even give more commissions to agents just to move those last few units.
Interesting topic. Unfortunately, ran out of time. We'll have you back again. But do want to thank you both for coming in, sharing those insights. Nicholas Mark, Chief Research Officer at Mogul.sg. Justin Quek as well, Chief Executive Officer of OrangeTee and Thai.